The nonprofit organization InterVol is planning a trip to Haiti later this month to do whatever it can to help with recovery efforts. InterVol will be shipping medical supplies and volunteers will go down to help. But before that happens, the organization is calling on the community to lend a helping hand. YNN's Sheba Clark has more.
InterVol has been organizing medical missions trips to Haiti for the past 3 years.
We actually have a medical student down in Haiti right now who's working on a variety of projects in conjunction with the University of Notre Dame. And he is working on things from organizing medical trips to bring all different specialties down to Haiti, as well as bringing supplies down to Haiti.
InterVol collects over 8,000 pounds of medical supplies weekly from hospitals throughout Rochester, Syracuse, and Buffalo. Recently, volunteers were planning a surgical missions trip to Haiti, but after hearing about the devastation from Tuesday's massive earthquake, the need to get medical supplies to Haiti became even greater.
We were originally going to help with secondary effects of lymphatic filariasis and elephantitis that occurs, but at this point it will probably most likely be recovery and relief efforts that will be more necessary.
This warehouse is full of medical supplies that have been donated. Now InterVol has to get these medical supplies to Haiti. That'll cost about $10,000.
From a community perspective, we can use all the help we can get in terms of getting a container down to Haiti because it is the supplies and equipment that will be greatly needed.
Specifically, what we really need is monetary or donations or physical help to help us to be able to box things, put things together.
From Band-Aids to crutches, InterVol is hoping to send as many supplies as they can.
I can't stop looking at the pictures and thinking about the people and just understanding, once you've experienced a third world country and you understand how limited resources these people have, you realize that something as simple as water or food or something that they probably had limited resources to begin with, they have absolutely nothing now.
Sheba Clark, YNN.
Are teaming up with volunteer agency InterVol to collect relief supplies and get them to Haiti. Volunteers from Rochester General Hospital and Constellation Brands gathered at the InterVol warehouse on North Clinton Avenue. RGH is donating many of the supplies. Constellation Brands is donating 2 corporate jets. The planes will fly into the Dominican Republic. A helicopter will move the supplies to Haiti.
This is just a small drop in what is needed. The need is overwhelming. We are partnering with other relief organizations that are working down there to try to work together. We look at this as a long-term operation. Initially, we want to go in and do the acute phase, but we hope to be sending teams of physicians and nurses down on an every 2-week basis.
These supplies, along with the team from InterVol, are expected to fly out early Thursday morning.
Volunteers from Rochester General Hospital and Constellation Brands are working with InterVol to get those supplies there. RGH is donating many of the supplies. Constellation is donating 2 corporate jets. The planes will fly into the Dominican Republic, from where a helicopter will then take the supplies into Haiti.
This is just a small drop in what is needed. The need is overwhelming. We are partnering with other relief organizations that are working down there to try to work together. We look at this as a long-term operation. Initially, we want to go in and do the acute phase, but we hope to be sending teams of physicians and nurses down on an every 2-week basis.
And a team from InterVol is expected to fly out with those supplies tomorrow morning.
Another InterVol volunteer is just back from Haiti, having lived through the earthquake. Joey Leary is already helping out with relief efforts here at home. We heard from Leary as he packed up boxes at the InterVol warehouse on Tuesday. YNN reporter Scott Patterson and photojournalist Matt Mann have the story.
It's been the craziest experience of my life.
Joey Leary put off medical school so he could volunteer with InterVol in Haiti.
I was in Port-au-Prince actually for program meetings the day of the earthquake, and I just left the Hotel Montana, which collapsed.
He was actually in a car with some colleagues when it started.
We were going through a park. There was a protest, so fortuitously we stopped to avoid the protest, and while we were stopped, the earthquake started, and it went on for about 30 seconds. All the buildings kind of came down at one time, and that was scary and confusing.
His first thoughts were of his co-workers and friends who had become like a second family.
There's people I know that are dead, and and some people that I don't know. When you watch these buildings go down, you realize that no one has a chance. There's no, you have no say in where you are, what you're doing.
Late that night, he returned to Leogan, the town where he lived.
There were 3 doctors in the whole town the first day, split between 40,000 people.
He helped as much as he could until he was brought back to America.
To have been able to escape and be evacuated, I know that they're completely stuck in that position is tough. So I'm back here. I'm not going to sit around while people back in Leogan, friends, almost second families, have no food or water or medical care. So I got right back to work with InterVol.
Scott Patterson, YNN.